member, and inside a test bench we'll try to access that member. Okay, so since this is very first example, we'll be proceeding very slow. So very first thing is the name of the class, let us assume to be a first. Okay, and then since we have started a class, we'll end it immediately. Okay, and inside our class we'll have a single data member, and that too have a size of single bit. Okay, as we proceed further, we'll understand how we add a function inside a class. So for this example, at least we'll consider that there exists only a single data member inside the class first, and that too have a size of 1 bit. Okay, so let us use a data type bit to declare the data member, and the name for data member is x. Okay, and let us initialize it to a value of 1. Okay, so this completes our declaration of a class. Now let us try to access this class inside a test bench, and then try to display the value of the data member x inside a test bench. Okay, so let us declare a test bench. So module test bench, and then we'll, since we have started a module, we'll end module first. Okay, now very first thing that we do is we declare an instance for our class. Okay, so instance is an user defined name that can be used to access the class. Okay, so let us suppose the name of our class is first, and the instance that we want is f1, but just creating an instance won't give us an access to a data member. We need to invoke the method or a new method to get an access to a data member. So we'll start with an initial begin. Okay, and then we'll end so that we can have an access to a multiple statement inside an initial construct, right? Now very first thing that we need to do is we need to use a new method, so that will create an object for our class. Okay, so f1 equals to new. So this you will always need to follow. First you create a name for an instance, and then you use a new method to invoke a class. Okay, after this only you get an access to a class. Else if you don't invoke a new method, or then you get an access to a null pointer. We'll see what happen if you do not use a new method to invoke a class, right? And then as soon as you do this, now you can access the class by using a dot operator, right? So let us use display. Okay, and just to distinguish between our output, we'll use some hyphens. Okay, and then we want to access a member or data member x from a class first. So the value of x from the class first is, and since the data is in bit format, so we'll use an identifier as a b. Okay, so %0b. Okay, so this is an identifier, since the data type that we have used for data member x is bit. Okay, and then to access this member x of class first is you have this instance, that is f1, and then we need to use a dot operator. So the way that you can use to access the member data member x is f1 dot x. Okay, so this basically is how you use a dot operator to access the data member from a class. Now let us try to run this design, and let us observe an output. Okay, so here you can actually figure out uh, between this a series of an hyphens, we have our value printed. The value of x from the class first is 1. Since here we have declared the x to be having a value of x, let us suppose we change it to 0 and again try to run it. Okay, so here you'll be finding the value of x from a class first is 0. So this is how you declare a class with a simple data member, and then utilizing a dot operator, you access that data member. Okay, so two things to remember. First is an user defined name to create an instance, and only when you use a new method you get an access to a class.